Here at the garage, I'm going to be revealing my secret plans with my old banger Ford Escorts. I've decided to go a bit crazy and yeah, there's going to be a fair few people that disagree with these plans in particular. In the last video that I filmed round here at the garage, I mentioned that the next time that I'm filming round here at the garage, I'm going to be revealing my secret plans for this old banger, Heidi, my hearing aid beige model Mk2 Escort. But recently, loads of you have been in touch to ask what's happening with my other model Mk2 Escort that I like to call Maud. And her fate is kind of now going to be linked to Heidi's. Hello and welcome to this video. I'm Marcus Hayes and today it's time to reveal how I'm going to be moving forward with my old banger Ford Escorts. My good friend John is starting to give the pepper pots a refurb for his Mk2 Fiesta XR2, but as you can see, Maud is still in my possession. She's been hibernating in Esther's garage whilst I've been focusing on Heidi, and Esther has turned into a bit of a daily driver, which has been a whole load of fun. Now let me just recap what the plans were with my cars before. Quite recently, I sort of felt like I had a bit of a dilemma. If you've been watching my videos, you'll know that the plan for Heidi was to turn her into a nice daily driver. I wanted her to have a nice paint job. She would have been lowered and, you know, given a set of aftermarket rims. But other than that, it was going to be relatively stock. This car came with a really tidy original interior, which I was planning to reuse. I've been spending a load of time on getting this stock 1300 Crossflow ready, and yeah, as I say, this thing was destined to be just a normal daily driver. And if I was able to realistically keep all three of the Escorts that I've got now, then that would be an ultimate plan. To have this thing as a daily, to have this thing as a sort of summer show car slash hoon vehicle, and then to keep Maud as, you know, a bit of a drift missile. But it just seemed like that wasn't going to be possible. I probably would have run out of funds before I actually finished building Heidi how I wanted to, and this thing has been getting really tatty. It's in desperate need of some welding, and the plan all along was to park it up outside my house and wave my MIG welder at it, but that just never happened. Admittedly, now I realise that my MIG welder runs off of my generator, I'm kind of kicking myself that I haven't just slowly but surely waved the MIG welder at Maud round here at the garage. But I've decided that even though I now know that I can do welding around here, I'm still gonna crack on with these new plans for Heidi and Maud. So essentially, my new plans for this thing are to turn it into a Maud version 2. Which is what loads of you have suggested I do when I sort of had this dilemma that I needed to potentially get rid of one of the cars. And in fact, it was what loads of you guys assumed I was secretly going to do when I first started working on Heidi. But, you know, I genuinely was intending to turn Heidi into a normal daily driver. In fact, now that I have changed my mind, I'm kind of kicking myself that I stuck to Heidi's original beige colour. Because I think if you're building, you know, a drift car or, you know, a bit of a toy, you should try and do it in a more bright colour. But we are where we are, and she will still be staying Cordoba beige. Now, I've got an idea in terms of an engine for Heidi, which will hopefully come, you know, further on in the future. But in the short term, in short, all the running gear out of Maud is going to be fitted to Heidi. So she's going to be getting the ST170 lump on bike carbs, the Type 9 gearbox, this radiator. You know, I will be freshening up the engine cosmetically, maybe even change a couple of gaskets. I will be changing the colour of the covers and stuff to make it suit Heidi. But yeah, essentially this running gear is going to be going into Heidi, along with Maud's suspension. She'll be running Maud's wheels, at least temporarily, and I think the interior, you know, the bucket seats, harnesses, although they're not in the best shape, I think realistically, at least temporarily, they're going to have to go in Heidi as well. But I do want to take what I've learned from Maud and apply that to Heidi and make a few changes that I kind of wished I always did with Maud. For instance, I want to fit a larger gearbox tunnel, because whenever I need to change a clutch or Maud, or whenever I need to remove the gearbox for any reason, it's an absolute nightmare when you've got a standard tunnel. So Heidi will definitely be getting a larger tunnel. Another thing I'm thinking is that maybe Heidi should have harnesses and normal seat belts, just because sometimes it is annoying putting harnesses on, you know, for a daily car, you know, because Heidi is going to be a daily car slash drift car, just like Maud was in the past. I just hope that I got the original seat belts with Heidi when I got her. I need to look through these boxes of parts, because I know how much standard Mk2 Escort seat belts cost, because yeah, I got quite a few quid years ago when I sold Maud's. In terms of the exterior, a couple of things that will definitely be transferred over. This front lip, of course, it will need to be painted beige, and this fiberglass bonnet, although I think I'll end up doing this satin black. It's not exactly the best shape. This bit sort of sinks down. I might be able to maybe, I don't know, bond in some sort of like rod or something to strengthen that to make it more of the right shape. But yeah, I do intend to just have this satin black, and then maybe it will give me an idea of what Heidi might look in the future if I'm able to save a few pennies and get a carbon fibre bonnet, which of course will be produced by my friend Gary Ball. I'll leave his links in the description for any of you guys that are after any carbon for your cars. If you do get in touch with him, definitely let him know that I sent you, and then yeah, it might help me get a carbon bonnet for Heidi a bit quicker, who knows. Now, with regards to the large tunnel, I'm going to learn from what I did when I fitted the large tunnel to Esther and do this a bit better. There's definitely going to need to be some paintwork touched up around here. I'll obviously have to paint the tunnel on the inside of the car. Not sure if I'm going to run a carpet. I may have to repaint the floor beige, because I've sort of done those black patches where the holes in the carpet are for the feet of the seats. I never actually painted the sort of upper area of Heidi's cockpit, because I always planned to fit a headline in, so that'll have to be addressed as well. But yeah, I'll get to that when the time comes. Another thing I definitely want to do, which will be an improvement on Maud, is to do with fitting that alloy radiator. With Maud, this area down here, which fouls the alley rad, I just basically cut a slit in and whacked it with a hammer. But with this car, you know, I want to do a better job of making clearance for that. I think you can buy a piece that you weld in, or maybe I'll be able to sort of make something up myself. So yeah, a bit of cutting and welding to do down there to fit this alloy rad. In terms of the front grille, one thing that I kind of wanted to do on Maud, which was inspired by a guy I went to see, actually, to see his four-door Mk2 Escort. He sort of made his own custom grille. So I'm thinking maybe I should do something like that to fit to Heidi. That will make it a bit unique, and it will give another reason for the anoraks to moan. But yeah, I think you get the idea. Heidi is now destined to be turned into a drift car slash daily car. As I say, a bit of a Maud version 2, you know, like Maud, but a whole lot better. And considering how solid Heidi's shell is compared to how Maud's shell was when I welded her up and first put her on the road, it should mean that I'll be able to have loads of fun for years to come, just like I had in this thing when I first put it on the road.
Yeah. Why not? Is it legal?
Now, because I've changed my plans with Heidi, it means there's going to be a load of parts that are now surplus to requirements, which I can sell on, which will hopefully fund the rest of building Heidi up as this daily / drift car. So I will be selling on this crossflow engine, for example. I'll be selling on this brake servo arrangement, and I'll be selling on this mint unripped brown interior. And I've actually already started taking pictures of some of these interior parts to throw them on eBay. And as I start transferring parts over from Maud to Heidi, it's going to mean that Maud is going to get stripped down to a bare shell. Any parts that I feel I can keep as spares for Heidi, I will do, and any other parts maybe I'll sell on, and then eventually I'll probably end up selling Maud on as a bare shell. And I think also there might be some parts that I am going to sell on from Maud that maybe I'll be able to sort of restore and paint up to sell on for a little bit more than they otherwise would have made, to sort of raise the amount of funds I've got coming in. You know, things like the door latches and things like that, I can get those zinc plated and sell them on rather than selling them on as old tatty door latches. Things like, you know, when I painted up things like this, you know, I can paint up things like this, throw them on eBay, get a little bit more money for them, and yeah, that will just bring more funds in for the build. I mean, for example, I won't be using these top mounts because Maud has got these sort of aftermarket ones. So I think you get the idea. Heidi's now set to be a bit more of an exciting toy than I intended her to be, but there's a few exterior bits that I've decided to go a bit crazy on, and yeah, let me just mock up these bits and you can let me know in the comments what you think of them, because yeah, there's going to be a fair few people that disagree with these plans in particular. All right, so I think it's fair to say there's quite a lot to talk about, and I'm going to start straight away by addressing this wing, which I know most people are not going to like. And to be honest, I'm not 100% sold on it myself yet, which is why at the moment this is attached with masking tape and I haven't yet drilled the holes. But essentially, I wanted some sort of universal wing that was wide enough for this car. Admittedly, I think it could be a few inches wider, you know, in an ideal situation. And I wanted something that was simple and straight, because most of the universal wings you see are sort of curved and not straight. So I basically only had one option, and this was it. Now this thing is adjustable, you know, you can adjust the angle of it and ultimately the height a little bit. I do think that even though this is on its sort of most length forward setting, I think it needs to come, you know, length forward a bit more, which means I'm going to have to rearrange what's going on here, possibly make up some of these that are shorter just to allow that front bit to tilt down, or make up some that are longer to enable the back to tilt up, or maybe a combination of both. But yeah, it definitely looks ridiculous. It looks really leery, and that's the look I'm going for with this car now. I want it to look ridiculous. I want it to be a bit mad, and I want it to be a bit out of the ordinary. Now, another thing that I'm sure loads of people are going to disagree with around the back is this diffuser. This is just a cheapo, universal, China-made diffuser that I got off of eBay, and yeah, it fills the hole that I hadn't yet filled with metal on this rear panel. Now, admittedly, I think that I may end up buying another one of these and extending it. So, you know, this is in, you know, it comes in multiple pieces. So it'd be easy to buy another one of these and just have an extra fin there and an extra fin there. But the reason I haven't cut it out and sort of decided fully to go down that route is because I don't quite know what I'm going to be doing with the exhaust on this car. But I am thinking that I'm going to end up making the exhaust come out the side, or maybe even just poke down just in front of the rear axle. And then that's going to mean that I can have this diffuser a bit wider, which I think will look a bit less silly. but yeah, it still looks rude with the diffuser sitting there. But yeah, the bits that I sort of decided on and purchased before the wing and the diffuser were these wide arches. Again, these are just cheap eBay arches, universal things, and the front ones are not quite as wide as the rear ones. And to be honest, I kind of wish that these were slightly wider and the rear ones were slightly smaller. I have tried lining up these ones on the rear, because then I could just buy another set and have the smaller ones all round, but yeah, that didn't look right, and I definitely don't think it's going to look right by having two sets of the wider ones. So this is what we've got. Obviously I'm going to need to cut away some of the wing where necessary to have these fitted properly. This car will have the front spoiler that is currently fitted to moored down here, so I need to figure out how these are going to sort of meet up with the front spoiler, but I'm pretty sure that the front spoiler is going to tie in nicely with the wide arches. But if we look around this side, I've actually got two of Maud's banded steels fitted, and yeah, it looks way better with the wide arches, with wheels that actually fill the arches. This is the banded steels that are on the front. These are 7.5-inch J and on the front, and 8-inch J on the rear, and yeah, they don't quite fill the arches. Admittedly, there's no spacer here, but on the rear I've actually got 30mm of spacers just to try and get it to sort of fill the arch a bit better. This will definitely look a lot better when the rear end is lowered. The front end is already lowered by 3 inches, of course, but yeah, as I say, gonna have to cut away the wings where necessary and the rear quarters where necessary, and probably gonna have to do some sort of tubbing on the rear. I'm not sure if I'll be able to just bang out the original inner arch, sort of inner tub, and get that to meet the rear quarter, but yeah, loads of fabrication's gonna have to go on, and loads of metal is gonna have to be cut out, but yeah, I'm pretty sure these are sitting roughly where they're going to. I want to try and make this follow this shape as best as I can. Now, this arch is kind of forced to be bent, you know, around here. If it wasn't for the tape, it would sort of come off down here. And I think when I go to fit these, you can use heat and stuff to actually sort of manipulate the shape. But because they are flexible, you know, you can see that you can manipulate how they go. And yeah, I think once they're all fitted properly and once the car's lowered, they should look, yeah, pretty cool. And around the other side, having the arches, we'll end up dealing with the small holes that I found in this arch. You can just see that it's all a bit rotten down here. So yeah, it gets rid of that once I've cut all that metal away. Now, ironically, when I was first offered to buy this car from its previous owner, I was over in Northern Ireland at the Summit Run and Show, you know, a couple of years ago, and I was surrounded by rally cars. I think that was actually the year that I was lent a Group 4 rally car to drive through the mountains on the run. And yeah, I just sort of had the idea of building a rally car. This was before I actually picked the car up, before I officially owned it, but the ideas of building something with wide arches, you know, were going through my mind. And at that show, at that Summit show, there was a 4-door with the rally style arches, which obviously come up higher, and they'd sort of, you know, tied them into the doors and, you know, cut the arches so that the doors still open. So it was, you know, they were really well done. So when I decided to arch this car, that idea was going through my head again. But yeah, those arches are expensive, and if I ended up messing up sort of, you know, tying them into the rear doors and stuff, then that would have been a whole, you know, load of wasted money. And yeah, these arches were ridiculously cheap. They were 20 quid for the set. So I thought I'd buy these, mock them up, see if they could at all work. And yeah, I really think that they will work. Definitely planning to have them beige like the rest of the car. And as I say, I do want to try and make them sort of fit with the lines of the car. And yeah, they'll just get riv nutted on, and then yeah, the car should look like really rude, you know, really aggressive. The arches really do look ridiculous with wheels that don't fill them, and as I say, if I'm going to be temporarily using these banded steels, I'm going to need spacers so that they do fill the arches. But yeah, the plan will be to eventually get some decent wheels that do fill the arches without using the spacers. There's a couple of things I've forgotten to mention. One, Heidi will be getting these headlights. I need to give this one a clean, but yeah, I really like these aftermarket headlights with the rings as side lights. She'll also be getting these carbon light protectors, and she'll be having black bumpers just like Maud. She'll be having black door handles. You know, a couple of these need repainting, of course. Black wing mirrors as well. So yeah, the same idea that I did with Maud in terms of making all the chrome stuff black, and then it means all the chrome handles and stuff that came with Heidi can be some other bits that I can sell on to help fund the project. Potentially I'll end up cutting this strut brace off of Maud that was very kindly given to me by my good friend Lee Booth, and yeah, welding that onto Heidi, or maybe I can get some other brackets that bolt on here and then just have the bar. Not sure yet. Moving further forward, I'm definitely open to the idea of putting a roll cage in this thing, but yeah, that definitely won't be yet. But yeah, I'm sure, you know, like most projects, it will evolve. Plans may change, you know, things might get added or taken away from the plans, but I think you get the idea. And I've got to be honest, the more I look at this thing with the arches and the wing on it, the more I'm getting used to it. And I honestly reckon that once this is all painted up, it's actually going to look pretty savage, especially when this thing is going sideways at some drift days. So do let me know in the comments what you reckon of my new plans. Don't hold back. Tell me what you really feel. It's absolutely fine. I know that not everyone's going to agree with this, but ultimately, if I can't keep all 3 cars, then I can't carry on putting a load of money and time into a car that's essentially going to be a bit boring. It would have been nice to have Heidi as a boring car if I was able to have the other 2 as well, and that just hasn't worked out. Also, let me know, you know, through email or whatever, if you're interested in any of the parts that I'm now going to have for sale. But yeah, other than that, I am going to end this video here. Massive thanks to everyone who's tuned in. Do click subscribe if you're new. Check the links in the description to follow me on social media. I'll leave my email address down there for anyone who wants to contact me. Also, down there will be a link to my own website and the Petrolhead Style website. Before I go, I've got to send another massive thanks to my patrons for your ongoing support. But other than that, until next time, thanks for watching.